What's up, guys? I figured since we all have a lot more free time now because of the circumstances, I was gonna spend some time cleaning my guitars thoroughly, and I figured I'd offer like a video on the process in doing that. And so we'll start off by the things that I use. So what you'd need for this is fretboard cleaner oil. You could use this brand. These are the two brands I use. One is Music Nomad and the other is Dunlop. I typically prefer the Music Nomad. I have this brush with soft bristles and this kind of wiper. This kind of gets in between the frets and the strings if you don't want to remove the strings. Which is the process I'm going to be demonstrating because I'm kind of wary about ordering things online right now, and ordering strings isn't really an option for me right now. And this brush to kind of take all the dust off prior to the cleaning. There is this guitar detailer. This is used for the body of the guitar. And you use this with a microfiber cloth to wipe down the guitar and get all the gunk off the guitar. This string cleaner, it's basically a bottle of liquid with this sponge adapter, and you kind of just run it across the strings to get all the gunk off the strings. And then a friction remover, which is it's a little syringe, and you put this on the areas that experience a lot of friction. So it's mostly used for the metal, the steel frets, and where the strings touch them. So you put it so it's more smooth and it's not the strings aren't wearing away at the frets. So you apply this. You use these small brushes to kind of wipe them down so it gives it a more smooth surface. So here's the video. Okay, so first we're gonna start with the bristles right here, just to we'll start up here at the headstock and kind of just brush it down, get all the dust off. The reason for doing this is when you go to actually use the chemicals on the guitar, you don't want the dust particles to scratch any of the wood on the guitar, especially the fretboard, because it'll mess with the sound of the guitar, the playability of the guitar. Then I use this part right here to kind of get between the strings and the fretboard. Next order of business, I like to start with the fretboard. We'll use the Music Nomad. So basically on each fret, start with a little drop. Kind of work between the strings. Like I said, this is a lot easier if you don't have strings on it, but the thing is with the COVID-19 situation right now, I'm kind of not comfortable in ordering anything online. So I'm trying to make do with these strings, and I don't just have extra strings laying around right now. So until things get back to normal, I'm gonna continue using these strings that have already been on my guitar for the last few months. try to get it as close to the frets as possible. You want to try to make it a point to cover up every part of each fret with the oil. You really don't need too much. I mean, a drop on each fret is more than enough to saturate the fretboard. You want to make sure you get the areas underneath the strings. So it's going to require you to kind of bend the strings back and forth to get in those areas. Now, let's do the body. Now, what I'm going to do is take this towel and cover the fretboard. Just like that. Guitar detailer. So I'm going to start with the face of the guitar. Just light mist. I'm going to let it sit for a few seconds. I'm going to take a clean part of this towel. Semi-clean part of the towel. And in circular motion, just use my fingertip. This is the tricky part right here, is under the strings. I mean, like I said, typically you do this without strings on it, but we don't have that luxury right now. I could always loosen the strings up and tighten them back up, but really, it's not gonna make much of a difference. It's gonna be more of a headache than making that much of a positive difference. I might need to do a second round on this. And cover that up again. Same thing, light mist. So I'm just gonna work it in. You know, same thing with the neck, or I'm sorry, with the headstock. So I'll cover this. This one's a little bit more tricky because there's strings. So what I like to do is kind of just narrow out this towel, slip it under the strings. Just kind of work it back and forth. And we gotta do the same thing to the rest of the body, the back of the neck. So you gotta remember the back of the neck isn't the same type of wood as the fretboard itself, so this is kind of considered the body right here. All that's left is the small details. We're gonna add the friction remover. So put one little drop on the frets. What this does is it smoothens the friction between the string and the actual fret, so it's not grinding on the fret and making it sound bad. It's kind of like a smoother feel to it. So like you could imagine, the strings are steel, the frets are steel, they're grinding against each other. There's dust in between them. It's causing like a minute type of grinding. It's kind of like sandpaper almost. So you're trying to keep that surface smooth. So for one thing, it's easier to hold down a string when you're playing, and the second thing, it just sounds it has a better sound to it. After I do all this, I'm gonna wipe everything down again because I like just to have it nice and clean without you know, these chemicals just sitting around. It's not that they're gonna damage it, it's just I like to have it wiped down so it's nice and even. Before we do the strings, the string application, see if this will work. But let's see. It's kind of like that sponge. Start with a couple strings up top. Let me see if it's coming out. Start right here. All the way to the nut. Back up past this nut. Same thing. Next two strings. Take the towel. And there it is.